How to never get angry again. They say a man is truly free when no one can disturb his peace. But what does that really mean? We live in a world where offense is cheap. One comment, one look, one missed message, and people explode. Social media is a battlefield of opinions. The streets echo with impatience, and everyone seems ready to snap at the smallest inconvenience. But now picture a man walking through all of that, untouched, calm, not cold but composed. He's not distant, he's just anchored. Things happen around him, but they don't happen to him. That man is not fictional. He is who you become when you embrace the Stoic path. Stoicism doesn't teach us to suppress anger. It teaches us to dissolve it. Epictetus once said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them." You're not angry because someone cut you off in traffic. You're angry because you decided that was worth your energy. You're not upset because someone insulted you. You're upset because you gave value to their words. What if you didn't? What if, instead of reacting, you responded? Not with fire, but with awareness. Not with rage, but with restraint. Imagine the power in that. Imagine walking through your day untouchable. Not because the world is kind, but because you are unshakable. To get there, you must train, not your body, but your perception. You must catch the emotion before it catches you. Because anger doesn't start as an explosion, it starts as a whisper. That wasn't fair. They don't respect you. You should say something. And in that moment you choose. Do you light the fire? Or do you sit with it, breathe, and let it go? Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, plague, loss, and yet he wrote in his journal, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up." He didn't just write it, he lived it. He was emperor, but his true power was internal. When chaos surrounded him, he returned to a simple truth. No one can harm you unless you allow them to. That is not weakness. That is discipline. That is courage. Seneca taught that anger is temporary madness, and madness has a cost. It ruins relationships. It destroys clarity. It turns a moment into regret. But when you pause, just pause, you take your power back. Not everything needs your reaction. In fact, most things don't. Some people are testing you without even knowing it. Others are desperate for a rise. But your peace is not a gift. It's your responsibility. So start your training today. Not in the gym, not with weights, but in silence, in observation. When someone interrupts you, pause. When someone disrespects you, pause. When things don't go your way, pause, breathe, choose. That's how a Stoic starts winning the invisible battles, not by fighting, but by not needing to. The pause is power, Epictetus once said. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Provocation is nothing without participation, and that participation begins in a fraction of a second. That's where the war is won or lost. We tend to believe that anger explodes like a volcano, sudden, uncontrollable. But the truth is more subtle and more hopeful. There is always a pause, a tiny window, a single breath. And that breath is your sword and your shield. That pause between stimulus and response, that's your freedom. That's the gate to your peace. Great warriors, ancient emperors, and Stoic philosophers all knew this. The power is not in how loud you shout, not in how quickly you respond. The real power is in the pause, in the stillness before the storm, in the silence before the answer. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the Roman Empire, understood that better than anyone. While others barked orders, he waited. While others let their tempers rule, he asked questions. Not of others, but of himself. Is this under my control? Is this truly harmful, or does it only feel that way? Will this matter tomorrow, in a year, on my deathbed? He learned not to trust the first reaction, because the first reaction is rarely wise. It's driven by ego, pride, insecurity. But wisdom, that arrives later, if you give it space to breathe. Let me tell you a story. There was once a Roman centurion named Gaius, who was stationed in a distant province, known for unrest. He was young, ambitious, and quick-tempered. One day, a local merchant insulted him in public, claiming the Roman presence brought more taxes than peace. The soldiers behind him reached for their weapons. Gaius's face turned red. He stepped forward. But then, in the back of his mind, he He heard the words his former commander once told him. Your rage is your leash, and your enemies are holding it. So he did nothing. He paused. He let the silence stretch. He looked at the man, and then he said only this. You're upset. I understand. And he walked away. That night, his fellow soldiers mocked him. You let a farmer insult Rome? But Gaius wasn't weak. He wasn't afraid. He had discovered something most never do. True strength is the ability to endure an insult without needing revenge. The next day, the same merchant came to the gates and offered food to the soldiers. He said, only a man of wisdom could have spared my pride and taught me my error without a sword. That's stoicism. That's the pause, and that's power. Because you see, when you respond with anger, you become a puppet. But when you pause, you become the master. Practice this in the smallest ways. Someone cuts you off in traffic? Pause. A friend sends a passive-aggressive message? Pause. Your boss raises their voice? Pause. Don't let their energy become your energy. Don't let their chaos become your home. Don't let their failure to control. Inner fortress. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the mind adapts and converts to its own purposes, the obstacle to our acting. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. But how? How does a man rise above the chaos around him and keep his soul untouched? The answer, according to the Stoics, is this. You must build a fortress within. Not of stone, not of steel, but of principle, of clarity, of peace. Because everything outside of you is unpredictable. People will insult you. The world will test you. Even your own body will betray you in time. But your mind, that is yours. And if you learn to protect it, to master it, to build within it the strongest walls imaginable, then nothing and no one can disturb you. Let me show you what that looks like. A story is told of an aging senator in Rome. His name was Rufus. He had served 3 emperors, survived 2 wars, and buried his wife and 2 sons. He had every reason to be bitter, but he wasn't. In fact, those who met him often described him as light-hearted and calm. Not because he had avoided pain, but because he had transformed it. One day, a young man approached Rufus, frustrated with his life. Master, he said, I have tried to be calm. I have read the Stoics, but my friends insult me. My job is unstable. I feel judged, unappreciated, anxious. How do you stay so unshaken? Rufus looked at him and smiled. Then he asked, if you lived in a fortress, would you leave the gates open to every passerby? No, replied the young man. That would be foolish. Then why, said Rufus, do you allow every opinion, every insult, every fear to enter your mind without resistance? That was the lesson. We spend our lives reacting to things we never invited. Someone frowns at us, we assume we've failed. A stranger criticizes us, we spiral for days. A friend forgets to call, we tell ourselves they don't care. But none of that is true, not unless you let it be. The Stoic mind is a guarded one, not closed, not numb, but selective. It allows only what serves its purpose. It welcomes truth, wisdom, compassion, but blocks noise, pettiness, pride. Marcus Aurelius called it his inner citadel, a space within where he could retreat no matter what storms raged outside. When politics turned poisonous, when betrayal stung, when war loomed, he closed his eyes, returned inward, and remembered, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. It's not easy. It takes training. Just like a fortress must be designed, built, and maintained, so too must your mind. Here's how to begin. Start your day with clarity, not chaos. Don't check your phone the moment you wake up. Instead, sit in silence, breathe. Read one passage of wisdom. Remind yourself, today I will be tested, and I am ready. Write your thoughts every morning. The Stoics journaled, not to complain, but to prepare. Write, what do I fear today? What must I accept? What can I control? Practice indifference to things that do not matter. Epictetus taught, some things are up to us, some are not. Most of what consumes us falls into the second category. Surround yourself with calm, not noise. That means eliminating unnecessary news, toxic voices, and dramatic people. The quieter your surroundings, the stronger your citadel. Your emotions are not enemies, they're signals, messengers. But you don't have to act on them. You can listen and still choose silence. That is power. That is mastery. That is the man who cannot be moved because he has built a fortress inside himself. So the next time someone mocks you, the next time life disappoints you, the next time you feel the pull to lash out, to scream, to react, don't. Return inward, stand tall behind your walls, and know that nothing can break a mind that has learned to guard its peace. The enemy within, you against yourself. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that is the battlefield the Stoics truly feared. Not the noise of the crowds, not the insult from an enemy, not the chaos of a collapsing empire. No, the real war is internal. It's always been you versus you. Imagine a man walking through the crowded streets of ancient Rome. The forum is alive with voices, with shouting merchants, and with petty insults flung through the air. A passerby bumps into him and mutters a curse. Another shouts mockery. In the distance, a politician spreads rumors that could ruin his reputation. And yet, the man, cloaked not just in a tunic but in discipline, does not flinch. His face doesn't tighten. His steps don't falter. Why? Because long ago, he made a decision, a vow. He decided that his peace was sacred, that his mind would not be held hostage by the immaturity or ignorance of others, that emotions, anger, frustration, resentment, are choices, not mandates. You see, anger is not triggered by an event. It is triggered by your interpretation of that event. When someone insults you, you must ask, is this actually harmful? Has this truly hurt me? Or is it simply words? And if it's just words, why should I hand over my peace to them? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But I will not be harmed by them, because none of them can touch my mind." This is not pessimism. This is preparation. It is emotional armor. When you expect people to behave foolishly and they do, you're not surprised. You're not offended. You were ready. When you remind yourself that others are still learning, you become more patient. When you tell yourself, this is not about me, you step outside of the ego. And the ego, my friend, is the true source of most anger. The gift of delay. There's a Stoic technique. It's simple, and it works like magic. When something triggers you, when a message upsets you, a colleague irritates you, or a stranger disrespects you, pause. Just pause. Don't speak. Don't react. Breathe. Epictetus taught this. He said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. So your job is not to fight back, but to detach, to wait. That pause, the sacred delay, buys you the only thing that matters, control. In that small space, you ask, is this worth my energy? Am I about to act with wisdom or with impulse? Will my future self thank me for how I'm about to respond? If the answer is no, you remain still, unshaken, stoic. Because strength is not shown by the one who shouts back. It's shown by the one who stays composed while the world loses its balance. But a Stoic says the opposite. A Stoic declares, only I decide the state of my soul. Only I choose how to feel. You can mock me, betray me, misjudge me, but I am still free. This is radical ownership. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, choose not to be harmed, and you won't be. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. The insult ends where your agreement ends. The offense lives only if you nurture it. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to reply to every comment. You don't have to correct every fool. Sometimes the highest form of power is ignoring them completely. Transmutation, turning offense into fuel. Still, we're human. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes the insult lands, the lie spreads, the betrayal cuts deep. So what do you do then? You do what Stoics always do. You transmute the pain. You turn it into discipline, into growth, into art, into clarity. Ryan Holiday calls this, the obstacle is the way. When you're wronged, you rise. When you're misjudged, you reflect. When you're betrayed, you learn and become wiser. You use the pain, but you don't become it. The Stoic doesn't pretend the world is soft. He simply refuses to be shaped by it. He shapes himself. Your daily practice, the inner fortress. Every day, train the mind. Not once a year, not when trouble strikes, every single day. That's why Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations. It wasn't a book for others. It was a manual for himself, a daily ritual, his personal training ground. So do the same. Start your morning with a reminder. Today I will not give my peace away. Carry a quote with you. Read it when you're shaken. Rehearse insults. Imagine difficulties. Prepare, not out of fear, but out of strength. This is preemptive clarity. This is how the Stoic builds the unshakable self. And when the storm hits, and it will, you'll be ready. If this message speaks to something deep in you, if you believe in peace over panic, strength over outburst, discipline over ego, then I invite you to join this journey. Subscribe to this channel, not for entertainment, but for growth, for inner mastery, for the Stoic code.